In this video, we'll review features and enhancements available in InfoBurst 2026.2. Two new cloud file storage platforms have been added. It is now possible to deliver files to and read files from Amazon S3 and Azure File Storage. InfoBurst currently supports bursting and delivery of a database query or SQL query in Excel format. The Excel file produced by InfoBurst is unformatted, just raw data. In InfoBurst 2026.2, a user can now add an Excel template they create, which could include formatting, calculations, charts, etc. The Excel template can then be assigned to a database query delivery. The query data is then inserted into the template, and a formatted Excel report is delivered to end users. Let's look at an example. Here I have a burst that contains a database query. That query contains a parameter. I'll refresh the query for value Europe, but here I could supply multiple region values and burst the query. I've added a delivery. This delivery sends to a network folder in Excel format. Let's look at the result. Here we can see the unformatted Excel workbook that InfoBurst produces. Now let's look at the new Excel template functionality. I've created an Excel template that contains a worksheet where I display the data with formatting and a few charts. The template also contains a hidden worksheet that receives the query data from InfoBurst. I add the Excel template to InfoBurst. It's in a network folder. And it's this one here. We'll add that to InfoBurst. This is required before creating the delivery. So back to our burst. I'll add a new delivery. We'll send the Excel file to the same folder. Under the Format tab, we have the Excel template section. Here I select my Excel template. We select the worksheet that will receive the data. I'm using the data worksheet. We also have the option to define a starting cell. If you want the starting cell to be something other than A1, you would define that here. By default, InfoBurst will not include column headers. Check this box to include column headers. Now let's look at the result of the delivery that uses the Excel template. This is the same data delivered by InfoBurst. The data was actually inserted into, if I unhide the worksheets, into the data worksheet. So we can see the raw data that was produced from the query, and then I've displayed that data as the Excel designer on my Region Sales Report tab. Next, we have the new InfoBurst Squirrel Store. Create an InfoBurst hosted database for use in a Squirrel application. A Squirrel application can be designed to read data from and write data to a Squirrel store. The Squirrel store creation is simple. Users can create one or more tables from scratch or by importing a CSV file. After table creation, the Squirrel store functions like any other database from your Squirrel application. Now let's look at an example of Squirrel store creation. Select New, Database Connection, and here we have a new connection type, InfoBurst Squirrel Store. We'll give it a name, My Squirrel Store, and save. The first option is to create tables from scratch. So here under Squirrel Store Tables, we'll select Add Table. We'll call this table States. And we start creating our columns. So my first column is State. We give it a name. We can select a data type. I'll leave that as string 50 and add the column. My second column is City. Same data type. We'll add that column. And then finally, we'll add a revenue column. And we'll change the data type to decimal. Add column. Add, and Save. After saving, we're automatically taken to the Queries tab, where InfoBurst has created a series of helper queries. So if we select States Get All and Run, the query returns no data. At this point, we have a blank database table. We can either insert data from our Squirrel application, or we have the option to import data from CSV. So let's do that. Back on the Connection tab, under CSV Data Import, we select our States table, choose File, locate our CSV file, states.csv, and open, and select Import Data. We see the three columns, state, city, and revenue, and the data contained in the CSV file. Select Import. And now back on the Queries tab, if we run our Get All query again, we can see the table has been populated with our CSV data. We have a second option for creating a table in a Squirrel store. Let's add a second table, but this time we will create the table using a CSV file. Under CSV Data Import, we'll select New Table, select Choose File. I'll select my Customers 100 CSV file, select Open, Import Data, and then we're presented the columns in the CSV file on the left, 12 columns. We can see the column names and the data types as determined by InfoBurst. And if we select individual columns on the right side, we have the option to change either the data type and or the column name. We even have the option to exclude columns when importing the data. On the bottom, we can see the data previewed and import. OK, again, we're taken to the Queries tab where we see our new helper queries. And if we use the Customers 100 Get All, we can see the new table data imported from CSV. In InfoBurst 2026.2, we have a few additional data source enhancements. First, the multi-column list. We have the option to create an MC list from a CSV file. For database connections, InfoBurst now supports single sign-on where the database type is SQL Server. And it's now possible to export the results of a database query test into an Excel file. And finally, a few additional enhancements. First, the run command action has been enhanced to support execution of an InfoBurst shell script, and memo has been enhanced to support CC or BCC recipient.